Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. My name's Rebecca Gooch. I'm the Director of Training, Development and Quality. So welcome to the webinar. Today we are going to go through our new CRM system, which is Quartz, which will be taking over from Pro from the 31st of August. So just a little caveat to this session. The Q&A feature is on, so if you would like to ask any questions, please put them in the Q&A section, or please put them in a chat. I won't be answering them during the session, but hopefully a lot of the questions will be answered here as well. What we will do then is collate them all, formulate the answers, and make sure we get back to you with any questions following all webinars this week by Friday. What I am going to show you is our demonstration service as well. It will look exactly the same. It's just I have some different features that you would have being the host of NCC. And any names, any emails that you see for GDPR purposes are not real. They're not real students. They are fake ones that we have made up purely for this demonstration. So if you just bear with me 2 seconds, I'm just going to share my screen and we will get started. So, as I said, this is our introduction into Quartz. You'll get details of Quartz implementation. You will get details of enrollment and registration, live assessments and submission. We'll go through any centre requests, and what we will go through is a schedule of events over the next few weeks to support our centres on training, development and using the new system. And hopefully from this session, you will get to see really quickly how efficient and how easy it is to get used to the new system on the new portal. So what is changing? So we are moving from Pro 9. It is being replaced by our new system called Quartz. The VLE and OneDrive will not be used for any moderation submission or examination submission from the 31st of August. Everything to do with that will now be on Quartz. You will not have to fill in MSFs via email, and these also won't be sent via email. All the results will be submitted via Quartz on the portal directly, so you won't have to deal with any more spreadsheets. Live assessment submissions will be on Quartz and not via email. So for example, global examination release will be on Quartz. You will then download the question papers, etc., complete the examination and upload everything along with all the correct documentation on Quartz, which will be demonstrated today. All past papers will also be on Quartz, and that will be demonstrated during this session. Results release and e-certification, not hard copies, will also be available through Quartz, not via email. And that is a feature that I'll show you with regards to results release and certifications. And what this will enable you to do as a centre, you'll have more freedom and flexibility to access all the reports, your own data as a centre, and your administration, anything from contact manager to centre requests to having really quick, simple processes to follow with time stamps on there as well to let you know when you receive a communication back. So as I stated before, we will go live on the 31st of August, 1 p.m. UK time. Okay, and the purpose for this in the morning that we have some little bits to finish and then we will go live. How will you get this information and how will you log on? You will get an email from customer support at NCC EDU. This will be initially sent to all centre administrators and coordinators, and the link in there will take you to our Quartz portal. All that you will need to do is reset your password and you will be logged on, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Any centre that has a centre administrator, coordinator, tutor, head of centre, exams officer, finance officer, you will all have access to the Quartz portal. If you don't have access or you can't log on the day or subsequent days, please contact your customer support executive and they will help you and assist you to log in on. Just to reiterate as well, Pro 9 will be restricted to read only from Thursday, the 24th of August. So that is this Thursday to the 31st of August. What that means for you is that you won't be able to do any winter 2023 registrations. All other processes will be the same and you'll be able to view your data on the portal. You just won't be able to do anything with Pro. Then from the 31st of August, these can be resumed via Quartz, which is a very straightforward and simple process. So just to reiterate there, from Thursday the 24th of August, you'll be able to view the Pro9 portal. You just won't be able to make any changes. This will allow us then to make any final checks, final data merges, and make sure the system is all ready and ready for you on the 31st of August for when you log in. So what does it actually look like when you log in? So when you log in, you will see this homepage here. So you put your username in and your password. Your username is your email address and the password is what you have reset with the link provided as well. As you can see here, there are many icons and each icon has a function behind that icon. When you first log in, just to point out some key features, you will see here your role and your centre. So as this is a test centre that we've set up, my current role in here is a centre administrator and the test centre is myself. You'll also see your name here. So the first thing that we want centres to be able to do and check is that you can log in, you see your correct role and you can see the homepage. Okay, from here you can have a little play around, you can have a navigation, but there are some things that we do want centres to do that very first day when you first log on. So 1, make sure that you can log on. 2, what we want to enable you to do is check what's called your contact manager. This is details of every single contact at your centre. So when you click on there, you will see a list here. Now, for this purposes, this is demonstration purposes, so this just have current contacts from NCC. What you will see is an ID number. The ID number is just for our reference, so don't worry about that. Forename, surname, the role at the centre, job title, the site that they are at. So if you are an overall centre administrator, you will see all roles, all sites. If you are a site administrator, for example, for site A, site B, if you have multiple delivery sites, you will be able to see the details of the individuals at that site as well. As we go through further the training, we'll explain what that means as well. You'll see the email address and the date from and to that individual has been at your centre. We're currently doing a really big exercise that's now finished to make sure that we have the right individuals at the right centres. However, if, for example, there are centres that you haven't disclosed to us that people have left or you've got some new tutors, please don't worry, you can amend it on the day. This is all within your control. Now, there are certain features that you can do here. You do not need to email us to create certain roles in the contact manager. The only instance where you need to let us know and we need to do our checks is if you have an additional tutor that we haven't seen before as part of the approval or accreditation process. And I'll go through that in just a second. So if you have a new contact that you want to provide a role to at your centre, all you do is click here where it says add new contact. You fill in the names, job title, email address. You select the role that they will be doing. There'll be an exhausted list here. And you also select the site that they are going to be at if you have a multi-site delivery. What will that then do? They will appear here. What that then does for that individual learner, it creates their login. So you don't need to email us and ask for an additional login for an additional individual. It will automatically create it via the email. When that new contact has been created, you simply email the link or to the portal. They will log on for the first time and reset their password. It's as simple as that. You do not need to let us know when you're adding them. We'll automatically get alerts. If, for example, you see here that some of the information isn't right, on the little tab here under actions, you can make some changes. Okay, so for this contact, if they're no longer with your organisation, you will just close the role for that contact. You click on there, it'll ask you if you want to confirm, you press confirm. What will then happen? It will show you a date in which that individual has been at your centre too. Okay, if you make an error, for example, you can always go and reopen the role for that contact. It's not a problem. Okay, so you don't need to notify us. We'll get automated alerts when you make the changes. If, for example, you have a dual role at your centre, so if you are a centre administrator and possibly at a site, or if you're a centre administrator and an examinations officer, you can also then add a new role for your contact. So you click on the new role, you click on what you want to add. For example, you add the role. Oops, just bear with me 1 second. I've just been timed out there. You add the role, and then that will then show on the list here. Okay. You can also modify the contact details if spellings of names and emails aren't correct. You can also close all roles with a contact if you have a dual role. If you need to add a new tutor, you will need to create a centre request, in which I will go on to that further on into this demonstration. The reason why you have to notify us if you are adding a new tutor is because we need to do our due diligence there, in which we check your teaching appendices and check the CV and approve that tutor as we would do normally. So it's really important on that first day that you check your contact manager and you make sure that everybody at your organisation is there and accounted for. Every 3 months, what we will do is send out an email to remind centres just to check your contact manager and keep it up to date to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date details from yourself. That includes heads of centre changes, centre administrator changes, but as I said, any tutors that you might need to add, will need to do a centre request, in which I will demonstrate shortly. So that is your contact manager, okay? That's some of the first things that we want you to do. What you'll also be able to do as well is check your current registrations as well. And that's for any centre that has made winter registrations, you'll be able to check where they are. You'll also be able to check previous registrations from any cycle with any year on your homepage. And I will go through that in just a moment. So that is just a very brief demonstration of where to log on, what you will see, and a couple of activities we do want you to do when you first log on. What I'm going to go through now is some changes that we have made to enrolment and registrations. In your current academic year, when you first log on, you will see your cohort of learners that are currently enrolled at NCC within the qualifications that they are taking with us. So existing centres, you will see every single registration that you have made up until the 24th of August 2023. If you are starting a new academic year, or with new learners and new cohorts, or if you have a new programme within the academic year and you do roll on roll off programmes, there are certain elements that you need to do before you can register for any components. What we are asking centres to do, and the reason why we're asking centres to make this change, is because sometimes we don't know who's taken the qualifications at your centre until that very first registration of components, okay? So what we need centres to do now is to enrol your learners into a cohort, whether that's at the beginning of the academic year or within the year, it's a roll on, roll off programme. But you must let us know that those students are on the correct qualification at your centre within 4 weeks of that learner starting their classes with you. So for example, that very first time the learner shows up in the class, we should notify us through Quartz that they sent students are registered, enrolled onto that qualification. So why do we need that? The first purpose here is that you cannot register learners for any components, okay, unless they are rolled onto the correct qualification. One thing to really reiterate here, enrolling a student onto the qualification does not initiate any invoices whatsoever. All you're doing is telling us at NCC that you have now enrolled learners at your centre within a certain time frame and they are taking the correct qualification with the correct pathway in there. You can make amendments to learners, which I will show you in just a second. Within that 4-week period, if you have late registrations, you can simply add them onto the cohort, also not a problem. You can also batch upload them as well, which I'll show you in just a second. But we need to know what qualifications your students are doing at your centre within 4 weeks of the cohort commencing their teaching. So for example, being in that classroom. So how do we do that? Okay, so as you can see the icons here, you've got an icon that's called Enroll Learners. Before that, what you'll be able to do is download our pre-populated template for NCC education. And I'll just drag this over here. So this is the e-enrollment template that you will need to fill in for all your learners. Anything that is highlighted in green is mandatory. So what the system won't allow is that if there are any missing information or information that isn't matching to what we have asked for, it will not allow you to enroll those learners. So it's important that you download this template to make sure that this is the template that you are using. You'll be able to download this from our website, and you will also be able to download this under documents and forms, in which I'll show you in just a moment. As you can see, there are certain drop-down elements here that you will have to fill in. You will also get a guide to the key and what that means once you download the template as well. So the green fields here are mandatory. So that's forename, surname, date of birth. You must ensure the date of birth is in day, month and year. Gender, ethnicity, email address, city and country. These added elements here really does help us as an organisation. So whether the student is full-time student or part-time or fully employed, the ability of that student if they need any additional support, and what adjustments as a centre that you might be creating. So for example, a student who have dyslexia may need 25% extra during examinations. If you provide that information with us, we know that you're making those correct adjustments for those students as you go throughout the year. And any comments here will be added. So this e-template will be downloadable from our website, and they'll also be downloadable under documents and forms, which I'll show you in just a second. You can add as many learners on this for the correct qualification as you want. If you have 500 students for level 3 diploma computing, add all 500. The number is limitless, okay? You just need to make sure that you're using the correct template. Once you've filled that in as well, you then will go to this section here, which is you will enroll your learners, okay? When you get to this, you need to select a programme and the qualification. For this purposes, a programme means that you select an enrolment programme. So on the drop down here, you will always select an enrolment programme when enrolling a new cohort of learners, not existing learners that are already with you that we have already got the information for, but just a new cohort of learners that are brand new, that either are progressing onto the next level or brand new to you as a centre. So you will select the enrolment programme. On the drop down here, you will only see the qualifications that you are accredited for. I'll see all of them just for this demonstration purpose, but you will only see the qualifications that you are accredited for. Say, for example, I'm enrolling a cohort onto level 3 business. You select the enrolment programme and you select the level 3 business qualification. You then select continue. What you will then do is input all the details about this cohort. So you will already see that this is an enrolment programme, and you'll also see the qualification that they are enrolling for. It's really important that you select the correct qualification with the correct pathway for these learners that you are submitting. If at any point that an error is made, it's not a problem. We can always amend any enrolments for any learner at any point, okay? I will go on to registrations in just a moment. The session description is completely up to you. You may have cohorts or classes that you provide a name for or a code. So for example, here in the UK, at some centres and colleges, we may have a code, for example, VL001, and that means something to the centre. So wherever your session description is here, you might have level 3 DC class A, for example. This is up to you. Whatever you want to call this cohort of learners is completely up to you, and that will always show on the session description for this cohort. So for example, I may want to call this cohort test 008, for example. What's really important as well is the cohort start date and end date. What this means is that the cohort start date is when those students have enrolled with you. If it's a past date, don't worry, it's fine, because you've got 4 weeks in which to tell us that those students have been with you and are taking classes. The end date for cohorts is when centres and learners have finished their whole qualification. So they've taken the entirety of all the components and they have finished that qualification. Generally speaking, the majority of qualification are a full academic year, if that is full-time study. If you have students that are part-time study, for example, that might be across 2 years. If you have students that are doing a roll-off programme, such you could possibly do our level 3 diploma computing, it's just making sure that the start date and end date matches for when those learners will finish that qualification for you as at a centre. And that's really important, and I'll demonstrate why. So for example, let's say I have students that started in August and I want them to finish in June 2023. So as you can see, really clear, it'll got a calendar for you. You just need to make sure you select the correct date, okay? If you are a multi-delivery site centre, you will also see a list of all the sites in which those students are to be enrolled into. So if these students are in site A, you would put site A. If the students are in site B, site B. If you have students on the same qual and some are in A and some are in B, you just need to make sure that you are enrolling the correct learners against the correct centre. If you just have one delivery site, you will only see one delivery site, for example, here. If you want to add any notes onto this submission, go ahead. We will get the notes. We'll receive all of them as well. Now, because I've pre-populated the template, all I need to do then for this enrolment is just drag and drop the learners into here. What you will then see is a little terminology there to say it's previewing. What you will then see is the first 20 lines of that Excel spreadsheet. What you are then able to do is make sure that the corresponding fields correspond to what we expect. If there are any missing fields within this document, you will get an error message and you will not be able to submit. So all you need to do then is go back and amend it and then resubmit it to make sure that you have everything that we need as an awarding organisation. What then that really does as well for yourselves is prevents any maladministration from happening for future cycles as well. Once you're happy with that, you then select continue. It will then ask you to confirm what you're asking, what you're telling us that these students have signed up for this qualification. So what you'll be able to see is that it's a new enrolment for this qualification. That is a session description. That's when they start and end, any notes that you submit, and the file name. So once you're happy with that, you will press submit. If the fields that you have submitted on the template are all accurate, this is an automated process. They will automatically show under your list of cohorts. And when you view the session here that you just created, you will see a full list of learners, okay? For this demonstration purpose, there's some element I need to add onto the spreadsheet. An example of this, if you've submitted this spreadsheet and there is an error, we will get a notification and we will be able to amend that if possible. That's down to the fields. If not, we will contact you and we'll contact the centre administrator. So if you get to this page and you go, oh, where are all my candidates? I can't see them. It means that there's an error that we're dealing with and we will get back to you within 48 hours. Okay, so you don't need to notify us. We get this notification automatically. Once you have enrolled your learners, you will see them under your list of cohorts, which I'll show you here. When you first log on, this will show all of your current registrations for this academic year. If you want to view all previous cycles and pre-academic years, all you need to do is untick current and you will see every single student cycle results and you can go in and navigate around. But for this purpose, when you first log onto this page, you will only see current cohorts of students. And as you can see here, I've just done an enrolment programme. I've set the qualification, I've given it a name, and as you can see here, the number of registrations or enrolments for this purpose is 0. It means that something's not quite right, but we've got a notification about that. And within 48 hours, you'll be able to see your learners. If after 48 hours that you still can't see, just ping a message to your customer support executive and they will be able to assist you from there. Okay, as you can see, here's one I prepared earlier. You will be able to see enrolments here. So this is an enrolment programme for this qualification, this session description, and you'll be able to see 50 learners. You can then go into here and double check that everybody is enrolled, and you'll see a full list with names, dates of birth, and the qualifications that they are assigned to. So that's the entirety of the enrolment process. It does not initiate an invoice. It does not affect any payments going forward or anything like that. This is purely to let us know that these students are enrolled with this qualification at your centre. Now, I appreciate I have just gone through that maybe a little too fast at the moment, but as I will demonstrate at the end, you will get online tutorials, videos, PDFs, and full guides to this process as well. And I'll explain what we're going to do with training development for all of our centres at the end. So once you've enrolled your learners and commenced teaching, you know, it's over to you. You do all your delivery, and you go, right, okay, so my students now are ready to be registered for their components. The next step to here is registration. And this is a two-step process to make sure that you are clear, concise, and you can do your checks and let us know what students are registered for. This is a invoiceable process, okay, right up until the deadline of registrations. The current activity schedule with the deadlines on it still stands. Nothing moves for 2023, okay? As I will show you in a second, it's very, very easy, straightforward, and efficient compared to Pro, okay? So you can also run your own registration report to check that you're happy with your registrations. And any late registrations after the closing deadline will have to be requested by the centre. I just want to reiterate how important registrations for components are, in particular to global examinations. For example, if you download your attendance register from Quartz and on the day there is a student missing and we have not been notified, our learner has not been registered up until the registration deadline, if you write their name on the attendance register, they cannot be marked. Okay, so this process is making sure that you're really clear on which students are enrolled and registered, and there are a lot of mechanisms for you to check that as a centre. So it's your responsibility to make sure that every student at your centres are enrolled and registered for the correct components, okay? Not units, we are using components, and I'll demonstrate that now and talk through the reasons why. So as you can see here, there's an icon that says register learner for assessments. And this is what you will use to register learners onto the correct components for that qualification. If you click here, you will see a full list of your learners in your current academic year for every qualification. You use the filters here to make sure that you are assigning the students to the correct cycle and the correct components. If I want to do a batch upload, what I would do here, I would select the qualification name, select search, and this will bring up every learner in my current academic year that's completing this qualification. If they are already registered, you will see their name twice. For example, Daniel is on an enrollment programme, but he's already registered for winter 2023, okay? It will not let you register Daniel again. So it won't let you duplicate this. So if, for example, Daniel has accidentally clicked, I will demonstrate in a moment, you will not be able to register Daniel for that further assessment because he's already registered in that cycle, okay? And you can check that in a number of ways. If a student isn't, you will see it once and you'll be able to register them for the cycle. So you can do this in batch, you can do it by individual learner as well. And as we move forward, you can do it by tutor. So when tutors are assigned to cohorts, you'll be able to do that moving forward as well. If, for example, I wanted to batch upload students for level 3 International Foundation Diploma, I would ensure that every single one here is doing the International Foundation Diploma. If, for example, there is a student that's say on level 4 and is appearing in that list and you don't see it, you will not be able to register for an incorrect qualification. So we have a mechanism that if you accidentally try and register a learner, for example, for a level 3 qualification and they're a level 4, it will automatically remove them. but it's up to you also to do your checks. So for example, if I wanted to batch upload everybody and I've done my search and I've checked that, I select all. If there are certain students that aren't ready for that cycle, I just deselect them out of that list. And you can do this as a batch, a group, or individual learners as well. You will then go to learner actions. And what you have to do now is you have to make sure the learners are on the correct cycle for the correct qualification. From the drop down, you will select copy registration. And from here, you will have a list and will always be one cycle ahead. So you will always see, ignore these ones. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of these for demonstration purposes, but you will always see the cycle, the qualification, and the site name if it's a particular delivery site. So you must make sure that you select the correct cycle and qualification for the learners that you are now wanting to enter into that cycle. You select the cycle and select copy registrations. Now, because I've done this demonstration a few times, I am going to demonstrate what will happen if, for example, a learner has already been registered for a cycle. You would copy registrations, Quartz would work in the background, and as you can see here, 65 learners failed to copy. That is because I have already copied them into the correct cycle for that student. If students here hadn't been registered for that correct cycle, it'll say 65 learners successful. Okay, so it won't let you make errors into the wrong cycle if that learner is already enrolled in for a particular qualification. Again, that's helping to prevent any maladministration and making sure that you as a centre have that control also. And I'll go through how to use your centre reports in a moment. So what you've just done now is you've just copied those learners correctly to the correct cycle. Okay, so those learners now are in the winter 2023 cycle. From here, what you then need to do is make sure those learners are selected for the correct component. So how do we do that? So we go back to the home page, and in now your cohorts, what you will see is you will see here, for example, you'll see these learners are enrolled onto this qualification. You will also see here another session that's opened for winter 2023. Now, as these cycles close, these will be removed. So you won't get a great big list of cycles and enrollments. You will always see your enrollment cohorts because those are the start and end dates. When the cycle finishes, this will be removed from your current list. If you want to go back and see it, as I said before, you just untick that and you'll be able to see everything. So how do I now register learners for those components? Well, I select the cycle. So for this purpose, it's winter 2023. I will get to this page and there are a number of checks as a centre that I can now do. I can also check that every learner is correctly enrolled and registered into the correct qualification and cycle, because I'm in this cycle here, it says it at the top, and there are a number of things that I do. So the first thing that I want to do now to register learner for components is if I want to register all learners, okay, I'll select all. If, for example, let's take Sophia, well, Sophia's not quite ready for this component yet, so I'm going to deselect her. I can also deselect all of them and just select individual learners as well. So, for example, I could select Emily, Joseph and Sophia and just transfer them across. And how you check that is really, really important. As you can see here under candidate ID, there's a number here, and that is associated to the number of registrations of components that that student is assigned to. So as you can see, this varies. So Emily is assigned to 5, Joseph is assigned to 7, David is assigned to 4, for example. So again, you can do those checks there. If I wanted to register all the learners against a particular component, what I will then do is select all the learners. And at the top here, this terminology will change to component registration. We're just waiting for our final upload this Thursday. All you do then is select multiple candidate component registration. And that will then take you to the next page. Just having a think and taking its time at the moment. So what you are then able to do is check here all the students. So this is another check for you as a centre to make sure everybody's enrolled and registered into the right cycle. You have a list of all the students, okay? And what you'll do is you'll have a list of all the current components that are available for that qualification. So for example, in this cohort, all of them are going to take biology. So what I do is I add biology there. And as you can see, it is automatically added here, okay? These are the current component registrations for this cycle that you are adding. If, for example, there's an error and you go, oh, my students aren't ready for English yet, you select remove, it will ask you to confirm this, you select OK, and that will be removed. So you can amend up until the point of the registration deadline if there are any errors that your students aren't ready for. Once you have selected add, that is it. You don't need to do anything else apart from that. The good thing then, as a centre, you will get access to centre reports. Once you have enrolled and registered your learners for components, you can then make sure that every student is accounted for by using your centre reports. Now, in this section, there'll be a list of reports that's available for you. For this demonstration purpose, is just examination schedules at the moment. So what I can do as a centre is I will go to examination schedules. I will then go to the correct cycle. I can then select whichever qualification I want to look into. I can then select the correct site and the correct cohort. So for this purpose, I've just done one example, but if you have enrolled cohorts into the winter cycle for level 3, 4, 5, etc., you will see everyone and you can select or deselect the report. You then select view report, and that will give you everybody that is entered into that qualification, into that component and the registered learner. Okay, the cohort ID is what is originally being set up. You can then, as a centre, export that and use that data accordingly to apply maybe filters in Excel to double check with your administration that every learner is accounted for, okay, before the registration deadline. You can use that and that's accessible at all time. It is live. So as soon as you register those students for components, you'll be able to see that report. You don't have to wait. It is a live report function. And that's really useful for you as a centre to see the qual components and to ensure that you have confirmation and ease and, you know, affirmation that those students are enrolled into that cohort and that qualification for that cycle, okay? And as you can see, you'll see the cycle here. So winter, spring, you'll be able to view previous cycles as well. And that's within your centre report section there as well. So that is enrolment for any new students. As I said before, your existing learners will already be on our system, already be on Quartz, and already be under your cohorts. If, for example, you have any students that need to be entered into a winter 2023 cycle, you will register learners against assessments, do exactly what I've just done, find for the qualification, find your learners, select the right components and cycle, and they'll be entered in there as well. That is an automated process. We also then get confirmation from our side that you have made those component registrations. You will also get email confirmation to whoever is making those component registrations as well. So you'll get a date and timestamp of when you've made those registrations for those components. Again, I have gone through that quite easily and simply. You will get full training and support in terms of videos, PDFs, and you'll be able to book any bespoke session if following the training sessions, such as this webinar, it is still a bit unclear on how you make those. Okay, so it's really important that we're providing this information for you to be able to use this with ease. Okay, the final thing that I want to go through with you today is with regards to live assessments. Okay, so our live assessments, we have created an area in which you can access activity schedules, global assignments, global examinations, and local examinations, okay? They will not be emailed to you anymore, and they will not be downloadable if any are on the VLE, for example. They'll all be downloadable from Quartz, which is similar for especially global assessments, similar to the Pro portal on there as well. So where are they? On this system here, when you go to live assessments, you will see here a number of documents. So if you go to activity schedule, this will give you the activity schedules for the qualifications that you are accredited for. So this is an example here. I might be a centre and I'm just accredited for level 5. I can see that the 2023 schedules, and you'll also be able to see 2024 schedules once we go live. As I said before, you can also see the enrolment template, which is great. And here, this is a section for global examination release. So previously, we have been sending by email, and we have been sending a good few days before. To reduce the risk of any malpractice or maladministration, this will now be time-stamped, and you'll be able to access these question papers at 8:30 a.m. over the day before the examination, which will give you plenty of time to print off the examinations ready for the assessment. And it'll be 8:30 a.m. your time zone. It won't be UK time zone. Okay, so for example, if you are in Malaysia, it will be 8:30 a.m. Malaysian time. If you are in America, it will be 8:30 a.m. whatever time it is America. So you won't have to wait, and it won't be released UK time. We are able now to release these in the correct time zone that your centre is in, which is great for you as a centre because you get that time. This question paper will stay up until the day after the examination. And then I will demonstrate in a second how then to upload all your documentation. What will also be available under here is your blank documentation that you will need to submit everything for your global examination. So this is for you. You'll see it here for whatever qualification you are accredited for. You'll see all the question papers ready for you to download, print off for your students to take that assessment. And that will be under live assessments. On the day, the students will take their examination. You will then gather all the scripts up and then need to upload them into our system, which is Quartz. So that is no longer done via the VLE or OneDrive. It is all done via Quartz. So how do we do that? So what we will then do is you'll see these icons here. What you will do is go into cohorts and you will select the correct cycle. And there are a couple of things that you need to do before submitting, okay? So these will be the candidates that are entered into each component for this cycle, okay? The very first thing that you will need to do for examinations is let us know whether that student was present, okay? So you go to learner registrations and attendance. You select the correct component. So for example, let's say Foundation Maths. This will give you a list for everybody that has been entered into that component. And as you can see here on the drop down, you will then have an opportunity to say whether they were present, absent, whether they've been deferred. The resit will automatically appear, or whether that student has actually withdrawn. So you need to make those options there. The whole cohort that attended that examination. That's the very first thing you do. And that will then be cross-referenced with your signed attendance register that you will submit via this area here. So as you can see, there is a number of icons here and tasks that you'll be able to do. For global examinations, the reason why we're going through this now, because we are aware, obviously, that there are global examinations commencing the second week in September. After they've done the actual examination themselves, you will upload the materials for marking and moderation. You select that button there. And as you can see here, there's real key instructions on how to do that. Here is the checklist that you will need to submit. And just a reminder here, all blank documentation can also be downloaded for documents and forms. It also ensures that the attendance register, the physical one, you need to make sure that you mark A for absent, and we'll cross-reference that with the attendance that you've just submitted. And it shows you what it needs to be scanned like and the example of how the file needs to be saved. The next thing that you will need to do is this situation here and these boxes. You will then select Global Examination Submission, and then you will select the correct component. So for example, level 3, diploma in computing, foundation maths. What you then do is select your corresponding zip file, and it has to be a zip file, okay, not an RAR file, a zip file, please. And once you've selected that and submitted it, that's all your scripts done, and you'll be able to see that on the screen. A good feature here as well is that this report, for example, will be available to you. And this, if you click on this, this will show you what students we're expecting to see for this component as well. So again, it's another check for you to make sure that you've got the right students with the right components before registration deadline as well. We understand there are late registration deadlines, and that's expected, but we need to ensure that they are registered as late registrations, which do incur fees before the actual examination day. You cannot register a learner on the day. So it's really, really important that you keep checking and using the features and reports that are available to you to make sure that you are able to see all the learners that are registered for the correct components. Past papers, etc., will also be available under documents and forms, and they'll be under a section here, and when you click on them, you'll be able to see the past papers as well. Similar to where you view them on the portal and sometimes on the VLE as well. But the main kind of components and the main premise here is that everything is available to you on Quartz Web. We're moving away from the VLE. Obviously, we're moving away from the portal as well. And as you can see, there are a lot of other features here as we go through and as we make our way through this cycle. The next aspect that I want to go over with you as well is something that we are calling centre reports, okay? And centre requests. Now, this isn't an exhaustive list of centre requests. Now, currently with specific processes, there are forms to complete. You may email them to customer support. You may email them to different inboxes at our centres, our NCC education, email inboxes. The centre requests now, so these are examples, so extensions, exemptions, direct entry, EC council requests, special consideration. We are increasing a feature on training requests as well. Post-result service, these will now be all available on Quartz directly. So if you go onto your homepage and go into centre requests, these are just some examples that have already been made. And as you can see, once you've submitted all information, it will give you a status in which that centre request is up to. So for example, we might be waiting a form for something. It might be initial request. It might be under review from us. It might be being booked in. So they're current ones. So how do you start a new centre request? This terminology will change to centre request once we go live. You select this button here and you'll see the drop down list here. You select the correct drop down. Okay, so for example, if I need to apply for an extension for results moderation sample, I will select this. It'll give you instructions, okay, on what we expect to see. You then select next and fill in the form accordingly. Once you've filled that in and supplied all the evidence that we need, we'll either ask for additional information if required, or we'll give you a decision based on the information that you have submitted. So centre requests are all done through this icon here, and that is many, many different requests from a centre. So you will use that now. You won't directly email your CSC, you will use a centre request. The reason being, one, you can track and monitor this at all times as well, and so can we. So there will be SLAs that we put in place for dealing with different types of centre requests. So for example, if it's an extension, we will deal with that very, very quickly within 24 to 48 hours. And if we need further information, we will contact you through Quartz. You will also get automated emails and alerts when the status moves forward. So you'll be always informed at which phase centre requests are completed from. When it comes to results release and certification, they will be available here for you to download on the day of results release. I must reiterate, the certification goes to centres unless we have agreed otherwise, and they are e-certificates. They are not the hard copy. But what that means is that upon results release and certification, students will be able to get an e-certificate as well as their transcripts if they need to show evidence for maybe progressions or universities, for example. But the hard copies will still be sent by us following this results release as well. Okay, so that is centre requests as well. Now, the next phase over the next few weeks will be really important. So I want to make you aware that announcements will be going out with links to webinars. You can make bespoke requests as well with regards to certain training and development. So over the next few weeks, we do have a schedule of events. So on the 4th and 5th of September, 9 AM to 10 AM UK time, as similar to this, we will be doing a webinar based on global and local examination release, how to submit them and what documents where you will find them and upload. Very, very similar to what I have just demonstrated there, but we will be going through the whole process with a specific example also. On the 3rd and 4th of October, very similar to this one, we will be going over result submission, how to submit moderation samples and how to use your centre reports once those results have been submitted. Now, the reason why we're not doing that yet is because we want to provide webinars and training as per our cycle. Okay, so at the moment, we're not at result submission. Just to reiterate, the autumn result submission on the 28th of August is still in the normal working way via the VLE, along with the plagiarism survey, your results, MSFs that need to be emailed, and also the samples that need to be submitted to the VLE. Nothing about that changes until after the 31st of August. So please, please, please make sure that your teams are aware that until the 31st of August, every other process with regards to result submission and moderation is exactly the same as it is. Okay, so please don't wait for Quartz to go live and don't say, oh, I was waiting for Quartz to go live. We haven't given that instruction for autumn 2023 result submission and moderation. That is still the same normal process as it is, because we need to finish off that cycle, and your results release and certification will be on Quartz for autumn. But everything before the 31st of August remains the same. So what we are going to do at the end of this week, we'll send out those links to the webinars so your corresponding staff can sign up, especially those that are going to be downloading submission examinations, which should be examinations officer as well, and any other staff member can join that as a centre. What we have designed for you as well, and this will be available on the 31st of August, is a Quartz support hub on our website. This is what it looks like currently. So each section will have a guide, a PDF, frequently asked questions, and a video if necessary. So for example, the enrollment and registration processes will have an accompanying video to show you exactly where you will find the boxes, how to enroll, how to register, and what you do. So these will be accessible 24/7. You can start accessing them on the 31st of August. Now, this will be the entire cycle. So if you want to get ahead and learn and develop with regards to the cycle of result submission and reports, please use these at your leisure. What we need to make sure with the webinars is we're doing it as we go along in the cycle to make sure we're not overloading individuals and centres with information, and you're really clear on what needs to happen. So that will be available for all our centres on the 31st of August also. So next steps from us, we will be going over the full cycle webinars from using Quartz, enrolment and registration, examination and assignment submission, using centre reports and requests, and results release and certification. There will be a webinar for every single point on there moving forward. You will get key dates and times in which these will be delivered by the academic standards managers, and they will happen every cycle for 6 months to make sure that you are used to using Quartz. After 6 months, we will take bespoke requests and training, and are more than happy to support centres moving forward. So the next steps also, you will receive announcements this week with key dates for the next webinars that are available. On the 31st of August, you will be able to log on to Quartz, and we'll send you the instructions via email in which how to do that. And following webinars and training, if you require any further training requests from there, You can put those requests in through Quartz, and the academic standing managers and customer support will book in training with you on Teams. It is not a problem. We are here to support you when moving, and we understand that moving to a new system can sometimes feel really daunting. But actually, I'm sure you can see from the demonstrations that have been completed today, we really are confident in this system. It's efficient, it's user-friendly. You are in a lot more control than you do have currently. So you're able to make changes. You're able to make learn amendment requests, withdraw learners, update your contact manager, and you'll also have a full list of reports available for you to use. Following this webinar and other webinars with regards to reports, if you want to request a specific report that would be really useful for you as a centre, then please do so. We can create them for you. That concludes the webinar for today. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you can see that we're really moving forward in a real positive way for you as centres and for us at NCC to make this a really seamless and smooth transition from Pro over to Quartz. Please keep an eye on your emails with regards to announcement to webinars, and in particular, those on the 31st of August. And don't forget, if you have on the day users that you need to add to Contact Manager, you can add apart from tutors. So we will reiterate that when we send out the email also. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I wish you a lovely rest of the week and weekend. Thank you very much.